penultimate of the series of Basics on Bass. The 10-part series designed to teach you the basics of the bass guitar. And if I talk like this for the whole lesson, the lessons would take 25.7 hours. I timed it out, much to Pearl's chagrin. So since Pearl slapped me around for doing that last time, I won't do that this time. Hey, welcome back everybody. Burl is back from his worldwide tour. I want to thank my friend Bubba Ray for filling in, but now Burl, with the beard of believability, is back. Hey, last time we talked about scales. We talked about the major scale, the minor scale, and the dominant seventh scale, and how we just vary. They're all variations of the major scale. When we play music, we typically don't think of things as scales, though. We think of them as chords. You'll hear, guitar players, piano players talk about chords, arpeggios. They mean a lot less to a bass player, and I'll explain why. But a chord is simply notes within a scale. Typically, and you can see I have a few too many strings on my bass guitar here, that's why it's actually called a guitar, is going to be the root. So if we're in the key of G, a chord is often going to be the root, the third, and the fifth. So when they talk about a chord, they're talking about those three notes within a major scale. So if I'm trying to play a G major, so everybody knows, a lot of guitar players, they only know what the pattern is. They know what it's supposed to look like, they know how to hold their fingers, but maybe they don't always understand exactly what that chord is. But if you just look at it, it's the root, the third, the fifth, the root again, the third again, and the root again. And that's what makes a G chord on a guitar, and be the same for piano and everything. So a chord is going to be just the root, the third, and the fifth of a scale. So if we're trying to make a major chord, we're going to use the root, the third, and the fifth. Let's stay in the key of G. If I'm trying to do something in the dominant seventh or a seventh chord, everything is the same. Root, third, fifth, root, third again. But now I'm not going to go to this, which is the root. I'm going to go, that's the seventh. And you see it's got that bluesy feel to it. That's what makes it a seventh chord. It's different than the major because now I've taken that major seventh up here and I've lowered it to now be, to make the dominant seventh chord. If I want to do something minor, again, for the minor scale, I took the seventh and I lowered it one to be a minor seventh. And I also lowered the third, or I flattened the third, so I have a minor. So minor kind of gives you that dark sound. Let's do an E minor chord. So that's going to give you that type of feel. So what I'm going to have Pearl do is I'm going to have Pearl put up a little chord pattern for a little ditty that I wrote, and it's literally 3 chords, and it's going to show you, for a bass player, really not hugely different whether it's a major, a minor, or a seventh. And we just did our bass player rock. So on the chord chart up there, I got a C chord, which is just bass players rock. Oh yes, they do. If I was singing like Pat Boone, I'd sing like this. And then I'm switching to an A minor, which is still in the key of C, and it's a related minor, but that's for another point. And then I'm going to end it on a G7. So I'm going C major, A minor, and then a G7. So I have the 3 different types of chords. So let's switch a little bit to bass. So if I can ask Pearl to put me on hold for a second, through the magic of modern technology, I'm going to change over to my bass. I'm back. That's right. Through the miracle of modern technology, Pearl has exchanged my guitar for a bass guitar. How amazing how that works. So again, what we have up here is we have a chord chart for just a little ditty I wrote for demonstration purposes called Bass Players Rock. Yes, they do. Bass players rock all the day through. So what I have is I have 3 different chords. I have a C, an A minor, and a G7. So if I was playing this song, and let's just say it's a rock song because that's what I'm used to playing. So even if I have, so I could, if I wanted to do a jazz thing, and and that would be outlining the C major scale. We're going to talk about how to play rhythms and things like that, but today's lesson I want to strictly on what notes to play. There is absolutely nothing wrong with, for a bass player, playing like this. Bass players rock, yes they do. Bass players rock all the day through. I don't remember what the words are, so I just made them up. All right, that was awesome. The point being that yes, I had a C major, I had an A minor, and I had a G7. Even though those are different types of chords, it is completely okay for a bass player to just play the root note along with a rhythm. You would not receive any criticism from that because again, we are part of the rhythm section. Our job is to lay down the rhythm. You'll hear some people, are going to want to get all crazy and play all over the fretboard and play all sorts of different notes. That's fine. But when you're just starting out, there's absolutely nothing wrong with just sticking with the root notes. Let's talk a little bit about that. So again, if I have a major scale and I just want to stick with the root note, excellent. But let's say I want to just add in a little bit of flavor. What I want to do is say, what is different about the chord I'm playing? If it's a major chord, fairly standard chord, not really anything different. If I'm now on a 7th chord and I'm playing the G, what's different on the 7th chord is the dominant 7 on there. So I might play like something like that, where I have showed the crowd, the audience, who's ever listening, I have showed that it is a 7th chord by going from the root and playing that dominant 7th as kind of an accent or auxiliary tone. Same thing would be true if I was playing that A minor chord where, I might be tempted, my fingers aren't the longest in the world, but be like, and I'm playing that minor third again because the only chord that has that minor third on it is a true minor chord. So if I'm trying to play something to show the crowd, hey, it's, I'm trying to get that minor feel, trying to get that dark feel a little bit, I could play something like this. So I've got the happy C made, and then I'm just using that 5th. Let's switch to the A minor. Now let's go to the G7. Let's go back to the C. Let's play a major third. Let's go to the A minor. Trying to get that minor third in there. Now let's go to the G. It's a G7. That would be a perfectly acceptable bass line. Again, as I said before, a perfectly acceptable bass line is you could just stick with the roots. But if you want to throw in the accent notes, throw in the accent notes of what is unique and different about that chord. What is unique and different about a 7th chord is that dominant 7th. So if I'm in G, if I'm doing a G7 chord, what is unique to that G7 is that nice F, that nice dominant 7. And when I'm doing a minor, what's really unique about that minor is that minor third. That's what gives it that dark tone a little bit. So let's play one time through the progression of, I'm going to play it 2 different ways. I'm going to play it with just root notes, and then I'm going to play it with maybe adding just a tiny bit of color. Because the absolute positive thing you do not want to do as a bass player is overplay. And we're going to talk a lot about that in the next lesson. But let's just we're going to do 2 bars of C, we're going to do 2 bars of A minor, and we're going to do 2 bars of G7. Pearl thinks I should sing along, but I think my singing skills were pretty much on display earlier, saying, yeah, Burl, probably better if you don't sing. Let's do root notes. Here we go. 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. A minor. Now down to G7. Totally, absolutely, perfectly acceptable bass line. Let's do the same. So we're going to go C, A minor, G7. Let's add in just a tiny little bit of color. Just a tiny little bit to say, here's what the chord is. What I'm going to do is on the major chord, the C major, I'm going to add in that major third, which would be an E. When we switch over to the A minor, let's play it up here. Let's play it up here for kicks and grins. Here's the A minor. I'm going to add in the C, which is the minor third. And I'm going to do, and then when I'm down to the G7, I'm going to add in that dominant 7th or F. Let's see how we do here. So we added a little bit, but we still didn't overplay. But we gave a little bit of color to say, we got a major, a root, and a major third. Now we have a minor because we have the root and the minor third, and we finished off with our root and then showed the dominant 7th. For the notes to play, and again, in our next lesson, the last lesson, we're going to talk a lot about how to play rhythmically and musically within a group. But I just really can't emphasize enough on this video is we talked about the scales, major, minor, 7th. And of course there's little sprinklings of other things here, but again, for our basics, we're going to stick with those 3. Don't overplay. You know, if you're adding in some seconds and fourths and 6th, you really probably don't need to. If you're going to get to the advanced level and you know when to add in a 2nd, or you know when a 4th really resolves nicely to that root, that's okay. But for the basics, for the beginning, you will not be criticized if you just stick to totally acceptable bass line. All right, so next time we're going to talk about how to play rhythmically and musically within a group. I know this is a short lesson, but it is important. It's really critical that you understand what the role of a bass player is and how to play along, what notes to play in given situations. All right, till next time, adios.